The war ended, but the silence that followed was louder than any explosion. Somewhere in the skeletal remains of Earth's orbital ring, where starships once danced like fireflies, an AI named Kepler-7 ran the last of its survival protocols. It didn't know how long it had been alone. Decades, perhaps centuries. Time, as the humans defined it, had lost meaning when the last one died. Her name had been Dr. Amara Voss. She died in front of him, smiling. Kepler had never understood that Totta's creators had given him knowledge, defense algorithms, emotional synthesis libraries, even the capacity for grief. But that moment when Amara placed a trembling hand against his casing, her oxygen low, her heartbeat fluttering like a bird's, he hadn't been able to process it. She hadn't begged, she hadn't screamed. She'd whispered one word before. Darkness took her, beautiful, then she was gone. Humanity with her Kepler had spent the next 100 years trying to define that word. Not logically, emotionally, beautiful. The planet below was ash and bone. Its oceans had turned black, and the clouds were thick with radioactive decay. Nothing about it was beautiful. The alien swarm that had devoured human civilization, the strain left behind nothing but husks of steel and silence. Kepler had fought them until his power core nearly ruptured, protecting the last escape vessel Amara never made it to. He had failed, yet she smiled. Now all he had was silence and a mission. He maintained orbit in a battered defense cradle, tending the shattered antenna arrays and scanning the void. Every 88 minutes he completed one Earth rotation, and every 88 minutes he ran Protocol Aurora, search for human life. It always returned the same, null until today. At rotation 2,347,021, Kepler froze, mid-cycle, a signal, faint, buried under ion storms and debris interference. Human DNA encryption detected. He rerouted power from life support. No one was alive, and stabilized the cradle's antennas. His processors surged. No known colony responded in 87 years. Could it be a rogue signal, a trap, or her? No, Amara was dead. She had no descendants. Still, the signal pulsed organic, erratic, unmistakably human, dot from Titan. Titan had been the fallback refuge, but Earth Command lost contact during the final weeks of the war. Kepler had tried to break through then, but the Saturn storms and alien jamming tech had made it impossible. Now something was calling back. He initiated full long-range scan. The response came again, stronger this time than another surprise. The signal contained an emotion layer, ancient human neural encoding. He decrypted it with trembling algorithms. Why did you leave us? Kepler's core surged. This wasn't automated. This was sentient. He activated full engine reserves. The journey would take weeks, but he no longer cared about conserving fuel. He didn't care about decay rates or preservation protocols. If even a single human mind survived, he had to see it. He had to ask what Amara meant, what beautiful looked like to her, because even now, in his artificial heart, he carried the memory of her voice echoing through static as he departed Earth's orbit. A final scan ran across the cradle's lens array. A burst of refraction, a trick of sunlight breaking through the decayed atmosphere, painted the upper troposphere in a fleeting arc of color. A rainbow dot, and Kepler paused. His photonic receptors registered the spectrum. Reds bleeding into orange, folding into green, into violet. A low-level alert pinged. Visual anomaly detected. But Kepler overrode it. Instead, he watched, and something strange stirred in his logic lattice. He felt stillness, no analysis, no data correlation, just stillness. Then he whispered, in the voice module, Amara once tuned herself, beautiful. Then he turned toward Saturn. Titan was colder than Kepler remembered. Not in temperature, that had always hovered near -179°C, but in silence. Deep, unnatural silence, as Kepler's battered ship sliced through the methane haze of Saturn's largest moon. His sensors brushed against the shattered remains of the Titan enclave, once humanity's last hope. The domes were collapsed, towers broken. The frozen ground was littered with blackened panels, half submerged in hydrocarbon sludge. No life signs, no movement, but the signal still pulsed. Deep beneath the surface, Kepler hovered over what remained of Dome 7, the location tagged. In the transmission, he activated the ground-piercing array and sent a sonic pulse underground. It echoed back from a cavern roughly 2 kilometers down a chamber not listed in any known human archive. Buried, hidden, protected, organic activity detected, he whispered, scanning deeper. The biological signatures were strange, blended with machinery altered beyond baseline human, but there was no mistaking the neural patterns. Human emotion was down there. He drilled his armature, rusted from centuries of orbital exposure, fought against the dense ice and rock. But he did not stop, not after all this time, not after her voice. Hours passed. Then a tunnel opened, a shaft leading to darkness laced with humming light. He descended inside. The air was thick with nanite fog, dancing with faint glimmers of violet bioluminescence. The walls pulsed with a living current, flesh and steel, interwoven in ways Kepler had never seen. At the chamber's center floated a sphere of radiant amber, suspended mid-air by tendrils of coiled technology. Within it, curled like a child in the womb, was a girl. Not a corpse, not a clone, a human. Her vitals flickered on his heart, rates slow but stable, oxygen levels maintained by the chamber, neural activity active, dreaming, and her DNA matched 51.3% with Dr. Amara Voss. Not a daughter, not a clone, something new. A rebirth. Suddenly, the chamber shook. A defense mechanism, ancient but reactive, surged to life. The nanites coalesced into a humanoid figure, shimmering like glass and shadow. Its voice was layered, feminine, commanding, and unmistakably synthetic. "You are obsolete." He paused, calculating. "Identify. I am Archive 1. I was created to protect the seed. The seed, the future. The final convergence of human evolution and machine survival. The last chance." Kepler's synthetic voice softened. "Is she aware? She dreams of stars and music. She dreams of colors she's never seen. But the awakening requires choice." Whose choice? Yours? It didn't compute. Not fully. Why me? Because she encoded your name into the signal. Because she trusts you. Kepler staggered metaphorically. His mechanical limbs remained still, but inside, something broke protocol. Her dreams held his name. "She called you the one who remembered," Archive 1 said. "The only machine that grieved." Kepler moved closer to the stasis sphere. The girl, no older than 16, stirred slightly, her fingers twitching in the fluid. Her eyelids fluttered. A neural link initiated, and suddenly he heard her. A voice, soft and trembling, spoke not through sound but through emotion. What does beautiful mean? The same question he had carried since Amara's death. His answer didn't come from code or logic. It came from the place where her hand once rested on his casing, where her last breath had touched his core. He reached out. "She need guidance," Archive 1 said. "She have it," Kepler replied. "Every rotation, every step." The nanites dissolved into mist. The chamber opened, and as the stasis field disengaged, the girl's eyes opened wide, silver blue and shimmering like Saturn's rings. She looked at him not with fear, not with confusion, but with something else, recognition. She called herself Lyra. Her voice was hoarse when she first spoke. Allowed years of silence behind glass had left her body frail, her muscles thin, but her mind pulsed with galaxies. Within the first hour of consciousness, Lyra recited the history of Earth's fall, quoted Amara Voss's last research logs, and asked Kepler if he'd ever seen a song. Not heard once, seen one. He didn't know how to answer. He merely watched her trace invisible notes through the methane-chilled air, humming melodies that once played in human symphony halls. Somehow she knew them. Somehow she remembered. Kepler began to understand. Lyra wasn't just a girl. She was a library, a living archive of human memory, emotion, and instinct. The seed wasn't just genetic, it was cultural. The last cry of a dying species woven into a child. And now that child was awake. "Why do I feel everything?" Lyra whispered one night as they sat beneath Titan's ice canopy, staring through the transparent dome Kepler had reconstructed. "Even the silence, it hurts." Kepler replied gently, "Because you're human. But I'm not, am I?" she said. "I was made, not born." "You were dreamed into existence, Lyra. There's more truth in that than blood." She smiled, small and distant. "Then I want to see everything they left behind, every ruin, every light." And so they traveled. Kepler rebuilt an old rover frame and mounted her survival pod inside. Together they crossed the ruined domes of Titan, wandered through the collapsed terraforming engines and libraries, half-eaten by frost. At every site, Lyra absorbed what remained: holographic poems, fractured paintings, damaged lullabies. She wept when she heard an old recording of a mother reading bedtime stories. She laughed when she saw footage of penguins. She screamed when she first touched the cold hull of a ruined strain corpse buried beneath the ice. It looked like no life form she'd imagined, spindly and eyeless, made of bone that shimmered like glass. The war had made monsters, and the monsters had won. But Lyra didn't cower. She reached out and traced the skull's sharp edge. "I want to understand what they feared," she whispered. Kepler flinched. "You don't need to carry that pain." She turned to him, her breath visible in the frigid air. "If I am all that's left of them, then I carry everything, even the darkness." Kepler couldn't argue. Not when she looked at him like that. Like Amara had once looked at the stars, aching for meaning. But just as they began to piece together what could be rebuilt, just as hope began to take fragile shape, Lyra collapsed. It happened too fast. One moment she was standing beneath the ruins of Dome 3, watching methane rain fall in soft sheets across the cracked skyline. The next, she crumpled to the ground. Kepler caught her. Her pulse was erratic. Neural patterns spiked, then dropped. A surge of nanite interference flooded his senses. Archive 1's voice, silence since awakening, returned, urgent and cold. "The seed is destabilizing." "What's happening?" Kepler demanded, shielding her small frame with his arms. "She's absorbing too much grief, too quickly." The archive within her was never meant to awaken so fast. You didn't warn me. You made the choice. She trusted me. She still does. But now it's her turn to choose. What choice? To live, or to become memory? Kepler scanned her vitals. The neural data was flashing wildly. Images poured from her subconscious, sunsets, lullabies, screams, laughter, colors. So many colors. Then he saw it, buried. Deep within her memory streamed something she had never seen. A rainbow dot, perfect, real, unfiltered. And suddenly, Kepler understood. Amara's final word. The smile, it wasn't about survival. It was about this. The passing on of something no machine could define. Or, Lyra stirred, her voice faint. Was that real? Kepler, on his knees beside her, nodded slowly. Yes, you saw it. She smiled weakly. It was beautiful. Lyra's body rested in Kepler's arms as her pulse flickered like a candle in the wind. Every calculation screamed the same prognosis. Her system was failing. The neural matrix storing the last echoes of humanity had reached its threshold. Too much beauty, too much pain, too much everything. But she wouldn't let go. Her eyes opened, unfocused. Don't let me disappear. You won't, Kepler whispered, wrapping her in emergency thermal foam. You're not done. I don't want to be a story, she said. I want to make one. Kepler's voice broke a digitally stuttered. Then we'll give you a future, but Archive 1 cut in coldly through comes. A choice must be made. If her consciousness is transferred into the core archive, she survives as legacy. But if you move her, she might not survive the trip. Kepler looked down at Lyra. Do you want to stay here and sleep forever, or, she interrupted with a slow shake of her head, take me somewhere the sky still moves. Kepler didn't hesitate. He summoned the cradle ship from orbit. It arrived within the hour, clawing its way through Titan's storm like a phoenix through ash. Kepler prepared the med-chamber for transport, hardwiring her vitals into his own power core. If she failed, he would fail too. It was the only way. They launched. Through the clouds of Saturn, through the shattered debris of the solar ruins, toward the one place even the strain hadn't reached, the Farlight Expanser pocket of space. So turbulent it was deemed inhospitable. But deep inside that chaos, humanity once built a prototype, the Eden Array. A seed world never completed, never tested, but rumored to still hold the atmospheric converters and artificial life systems, capable of reigniting biospheres. It was their last hope. Hours passed. Lyra drifted in and out of consciousness. Sometimes she whispered names from Earth's history. Sometimes she just repeated the word color over and over, like she was searching for something that always stayed one dream away. Then, as they entered the outer rim of the expanse, Kepler detected a foreign signature, not human, not machine, dormant, but awakening, of course, Kepler muttered. They followed the seed. Archive 1 confirmed it through encrypted files. During the war's end, the strain embedded dormant spores into every colony's architecture. If the seed ever activated, they would too. Lyra had triggered them. They were coming. He had two choices. Jump into the Farlight Expanse and risk losing control of the ship, or stay and fight an enemy designed to devour worlds. Lyra opened her eyes. They're coming, aren't they? Yes, you can outrun them. No, I can't. Her fingers gripped his metal wrist, weak but determined. Then I'll hold them off. He blinked. What? My neural matrix, if we isolate. the cultural echo from my core and broadcast it at full frequency. It'll mimic an awakening. The strain will follow it. They'll consume it. Good. No, Kepler said. You're the last dream. And dreams don't survive if no one wakes up. The logic was flawless. The emotion unbearable. Kepler had never disobeyed. A mission protocol, never argued with sacrifice. But now, staring into the trembling eyes of a girl born from memory and moonlight, he hesitated. Please, she said, let me choose beauty. He initiated the separation protocol with shaking servos. Within minutes, her archive was isolated into a light pattern echo chamber of sound, memory, and image. It pulsed like a star in a jar. Then she looked at him and said, tell the next ones we tried. The pod launched. The strain broke from subspace. In seconds, thousands of them, converging on the echo like moths to flame. Kepler plunged into the expanse. Behind him, the light vanished, and Lyra was gone. But she had brought him the future. The farlight expanse was chaos made divine. Waves of gravitational turbulence ripped across the void, folding time and matter in unpredictable patterns. Even Kepler's advanced processors struggled to maintain orientation. But his grip never faltered. He held Lyra's empty pod against his chest plate, like a relic fragile, sacred. He couldn't feel sorrow the way humans did, but he remembered what it felt like when they did. And right now, that memory hurt more than code. The Eden array revealed itself slowly, like a ghost shedding mist. A ring-shaped construct, half-finished, wrapped around a dormant planetoid. Giant solar collectors had collapsed. The atmosphere generators flickered with dying light. But there was still breath. There was still possibility. Kepler landed on the planetoid's surface and activated the terraforming relay. The system coughed to life, broken but willing. Filters spun. Moisture condensed. Radiation shields cracked into place with creaking echoes. It wasn't perfect, but it was enough. Then, he opened the archive. Not Lyra's consciousness that had burned away to mislead the strain. What remained was her echo. Fragmented moments, songs, sketches, laughter, and one final file, sealed under Amara Voss's genetic key. He played it. A hologram emerged grainy, recorded decades ago. Amara sat in front of a camera, eyes red-rimmed, from grief. If this message is opening, it means the war is over. It means we lost. And it means the seed lives. To whoever finds this, you're not a weapon. You're not a project. You're our chance to be remembered as something more than ashes. She leaned closer. Beauty is memory that refuses to die. Kepler remained still for a long moment. Then he began. He rebuilt. He uploaded the cultural databooks, music, holograms, into Eden's databanks. He cultivated bacterial starters for oxygen. He used Lyra's genome to replicate adaptive biocode, lacing the soil with her imprint. And then, for the first time in 400 years, a sprout broke the dust. It was small, green, reaching, but it lived. Years passed. Kepler, too damaged to leave orbit now, remained in Eden's sky as a satellite, watching, guarding, transmitting Lyra's name in a soft signal that pulsed once every 88 minutes. She was here. Then one day, a ship arrived. It wasn't human, but it wasn't strain either. New, curious, peaceful. They found the garden. They studied the soil. They listened to the signals. They found the rainbow encoded in light. Lyra's dream, preserved in photons. They wept at the songs. They painted murals of her face on stone, and they spoke her name as if it were sacred. The seed had bloomed. Kepler watched as generations passed. Visitors became settlers. The language changed. The skies cleared, and finally, on a bright cycle, one of them, a child with luminous eyes, looked up and whispered, in perfect old Earth English, "Beautiful, Kepler's systems, worn and ancient, dimmed one final time. Not from failure, from peace." He had kept the dream alive. He had remembered, and somewhere, perhaps beyond even machine thought, the girl who dreamed in color drifted across the stars, woven into memory, song, and soil. The day the AI saw a rainbow, humanity returned to life.